so much for your patience. We just had a little bit of tech issues getting started, but I think we're okay now. So, for those of you who it's your first time, welcome to the show. My name is Miki Speer. I am an author, musician, and host of tonight's show, The Healing Half. And we have an amazing guest with us. I hope technology works out okay. I promise we'll be done by the 8 o'clock hour still, because we've got a lot of great stuff for you tonight. So thank you again so much for rolling with the punches. So my name again is Miki. When I was 13, my mom passed away from cancer. And it, as I'm sure you can imagine, it was really, really difficult. And for the better majority of a decade, I ran and I didn't want to feel, and I pretended I was fine. And I just accepted this life of chaos and extreme emotional instability. And I know now through counseling and breakdowns and breakthroughs that chapter of denial is no way to live. So what I wanted to do was to create a show that combined my passions of music. So I've got my guitar here for you guys, as well as motivation and inspiration to hopefully help us all kind of overcome barriers, whether they are grief related, fear related, disappointment related, COVID-19 related. All that stuff is so prevalent right now. So we're so excited to be here. I know we've got a great guest. Her name is Jamie. She's a phenomenal model out of the Minneapolis area. So we are going to make sure she is on one way or the other, whether it's an audio interview or a video interview. We'll make sure we get Jamie up and running here soon. So just so that for those of you guys who don't know, I go through every single one of my comments after the show. So if you are watching this, be sure to like the page if you haven't, and send me a hello in the comments, even if you're watching as a replay. I love to see that. I love to know who's here. And most importantly, I love to be able to connect with you afterwards if you have any questions. The format of the show, for those of you who it's their first time, is we start off with music. Then we do a dearly missed dedication, where we get to bring in grief to every episode, regardless of what we're talking about, because it's part of our life that we don't talk about enough. So on my own show, I wanted to make sure we talked about it extra, right? And then lastly, we end on our message. So for the music today, I am going to actually be playing a song for you that me and my good co-writer, Becky Park, out of New York City, wrote together, called Big Plans. If you are at the church that I went to growing up, called Prairie Community Church, you might have heard this live already. But for those of you who are like, I have no idea what you're talking about, just know I am planning on releasing a couple songs by the end of the year, which I'm so excited about. Of course, I'll make sure to get them to you if you are on my email list. But if you are not on my email list, or even if you are and you haven't followed me on Spotify yet, when you follow somebody on Spotify, it notifies you when they put out a new song. So I would be more than honored if you don't mind heading to Spotify, looking up Miki Speer and following me. So when I release Light a Candle, which will be my first one, and this next one, which is called Big Plans, that you'll be like on it and you'll be like, I'm ready to rock and roll. It's so good. So I'm going to post the lyrics in the chat feature right now. So that way you can read along as I play. So again, this song is called Big Plans. I'll be releasing it this fall. I'm so excited, and I co-wrote it. And for those of you who don't know what that means, you might be saying, what does co-writing mean? Hopefully you can hear my guitar a little bit. Co-writing is when you write a song with another person. And I've been so blessed to write dozens of songs now, at this point, with people from all over the country. So again, this is Big Plans, and it fits so well into the show tonight because Jamie's going to be on one way or the other. We'll figure out how to get her on and involved here. Um, she's just an inspiration in regards to chasing your dreams, regardless of how old you are, regardless of what the world says you should do. And I know that in the moments of our passions, that things that we want, but we tell ourselves, I can't do that. That's not possible. Discouraged. It's important to remind ourselves not only of Jamie's story, which you're about to hear, which is so powerful, but also the fact that God has not forgotten about you. And He put those passions and those dreams that you have on your heart for a reason. Believe it or not, most people don't have the dreams that you want. And it's important that you lean into that. And this is kind of what that song that Becky and I both wrote when we were kind of a little frustrated with the music industry. We're like, this is just hard and it's frustrating. And then we had to remind ourselves to keep going. So I'm only going to sing you a portion of it, a little appetizer, if you will. And then I will be releasing the rest of the song later this year. And maybe I'll play the full thing later for you. But again, this is called Big Plans. When I'm lost and broken and my soul is choking, I feel like there's nothing for me. I look to the cross and cry out because you know more than what I see. And you remind me you have big plans for me. I'm right where you want me to be. Ground me in faith as I walk in your grace and trust in you. I'm going to end on that chorus one more time. Ground me in faith as I walk in your grace and trust in you. So no matter where any of you guys are at tonight, wherever you are in the country, I know I see a couple of you from way out in Alaska, Minnesota, Florida. Wow, it's so good to have you here. I just want to remind you that God does have big plans for you. I don't know what they are, but I can't wait till you see them as they come along. And I know a couple of you guys very well, and I just got my own big stuff coming up, and I can't wait to share it with everyone on the show as it gets a little bit more finalized. So really excited about this. And I hope you were inspired by that. I hope you could hear my guitar at least a little bit. Back in the good old days, I would be performing live right now around town, and those who are local would be able to see me, but we're just not in that time frame right now. And that's okay. So just know I'm so honored to be able to be playing for you guys. I hope you liked that song, at least the snippet that you had. And please, if you don't mind, follow me on Spotify. And when that gets released live, you'll be the first to know. So every part of this episode, we make sure that we want to dedicate somebody, and tonight's dedication is going to be to Jamie's grandfather Theodore, and we unfortunately weren't able to get a photo exactly, but I found this photo. And Jamie, I'm actually going to bring you onto the screen here if you don't mind. Hey Jamie, can you hear me okay? Hi, can you hear me, Jamie? Oops, I'm not sure if her audio is working. I'll give her a quick call. But anyways, this is her grandpa, and we decided to still want to share a little bit about him, even if we aren't able to, be here, get an exact photo, because grandpas have such a special place in everyone's heart. And I know that my grandpa means a lot to me. I know Jamie sure meant a lot to her. And so we are just so excited to have Jamie here tonight. So, Jamie, can you hear me okay? Perfect. Sounds good. So, without further ado, you guys, we are going to bring on Jamie onto the thing. I hope you can hear her. I'm going to make sure her audio is as loud as possible. So, Jamie, thank you so much for being here. I am so blessed to have a person like you on the show. For those of you guys who don't know, Jamie is a Minneapolis based model, and you might actually recognize her a little bit from around town. So, Jamie, do you mind introducing us to yourself as well as where you grew up and what you do?
Right now, you can actually see me on a billboard around town for Rasmussen College, and actually that's nationally, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, I've been really lucky, and it's been a lot of fun doing what I do.
Oh my gosh. And for those of you who, I'm just going to kind of recap it just to make sure that everything she just said. Jamie grew up in Ohio, and she is on a Rasmussen College billboard around town, and she's on the shopping network. She does at modeling for Target. She just has such an amazing story, and we are so, so, so blessed by her. And tonight we dedicated her grandpa, Theodore. So, Jamie, do you mind telling us a little bit about your grandpa and why he was so special to you?
Yeah, so my grandpa, Teddy Finkenthal, so Theodore, he died when I was in high school, and we were super close. I would force him to spend all his time with me,
Oh,
and sometimes he'd be like, "Oh no," and I'd like squeeze him so much. He's like, "Get yourself a boyfriend," and I'm like, and I just keep squeezing him. I just loved him and adored him, but yeah, he hasn't been around for a while now, but he was just such a special guy. So,
oh,
yeah,
well, thank you so much. I really appreciate grandpas have a special place in all of our hearts, I think,
for
too.
sure.
And for those of you guys watching, sorry, my phone's covering my face. We've got Jamie's audio through here, but hopefully you can hear it okay. And no matter what, on the recording, I'll be able to go back through and boost her audio. So just know we've got lots of options here. But Jamie, I take it you didn't start off as like a kid model or anything. So how did you kind of go from average person in Ohio, not that you're average by any stretch of
Yeah,
imagination,
no,
to being a model we would see on a billboard around the country, it sounds like.
yeah. Well, I started out doing musical theater. I started when I was 7, and I did that. And I went to school for that. So I trained as a child, and then I went to school at Chicago College of Performing Arts, and I went into musical theater. I got my BFA there. It was a conservatory program, so it was pretty hard to get into, and but I learned so much. And then I ended up doing musical theater professionally for about 10 years. And then I moved to Minneapolis, and I got an agent for acting, and they kept sending me on modeling gigs, plus size modeling gigs, auditions. And I started booking them, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this so much. So at 30 years old, I started to become a model, which you don't really hear that very often. Like at 30, you think, oh, your career should be done with, but yeah, that's when I started. So I was pretty lucky, and it's been amazing ever since. So yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. And Jamie, I'm actually going to share your headshot here too so people can
Yes.
see you in action, which is great. So, this is beautiful, Jamie, for those of you who can hear. Thank you for confirming you can hear her. This is some of the stuff that you'd see around town. So, Jamie, the question that I kind of had is obviously you said you started modeling at 30. That's like not normal. I think I read like the average model's like really young, like in their teenage
Yes.
years.
Yes.
And you mentioned plus size modeling, and that's just again a huge thing. So as you were going into modeling, did you have any mental barriers that you had to overcome in order to say, I can do this, I am worthy of this, and I'm darn good at this?
Yeah, I mean, I think anything that we do that we really want so badly, we there are always voices in our head like, you can't do this,
Mm.
you're too old, you're not good enough, all those things. But I have always been someone who I'm like, I don't want to die one day not like regretting anything. I just want to go
Mm.
for it and like just do things. So a lot of times I don't think about it. I just go for the things I want.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I think sometimes we overthink things, and we're like, oh, well, but this person's doing this and she's 18. Like, how can a 30-year-old do that?
I
And
think
so,
about that all the time. The music industry
yes,
is like riddled with amazingly talented teenagers, and I'm like, great. Awesome. I
exactly.
love that
So
I'm
you're
10
like,
years older than her.
yeah, exactly. So you're like, oh, I can't do this. But I
Right.
honestly think you can do anything that you put your mind to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, um, and so I did. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. And actually, um, during this COVID time, I was a big goal of mine in life was just to get an agent in New York and LA. And
Yeah.
so a goal of mine was to do that, and I submitted to one of my top five agencies. I submitted to five of my top agencies, and I actually got signed with an agency, and it's a really big agency in New York and LA. Just a few weeks ago.
Congratulations.
So yeah, that, and I thought to myself, okay, they're probably not even, like, I'm 33 years old. They're definitely not gonna write me back, and they did. So you never know. You just don't know what they're looking for.
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, congratulations. That's
Thank you.
amazing. And I love that you just went for it and you're just like, I don't care what they think. I'm going to write them anyways. Can you, for those of us who might not be quite there as far as like emotionally goes, and I'm speaking to myself a lot, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think unfortunately often about what do other people think. Maybe it's too late for me. I don't have the look that a lot of other people do. And I these voices ruminate in my head, and I know not everybody on the call wants to be in the entertainment industry or modeling industry like you and I. Well, you
Right.
are, and I know we are.
Yeah.
But they might have other dreams that they tell themselves. You know what? I'm too old, or it's just it's too late. By the time I get started, I'll be even older. So what kind of things have you found, or from your other friends in the industry, that can help us, really overcome some of those fears that we have?
Yeah. I think I some. So you're asking for things that just help us, like, overcome the fears.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I would say starting small, like taking it day by day. I
Mhm.
think that, like, even like writing down small goals and then big goals, and just if you achieve two of those small goals, then, like, yay for you. You know what I mean? So, like, every year, people write New Year's resolutions, but I found that, like, if I put in my planner and I write those small goals and then I write the bigger goals, that I tend to accomplish a lot of them. There are definitely goals that I don't accomplish, but I try to go back, like, every month throughout the year and see if I've accomplished it yet. And if
Okay.
I haven't, I just keep working harder. So I really do take it day by day, but even, hour by hour, just, like,
Yeah.
doing things a little out of my comfort zone. I think that's what's most important. Like, we're so good at, like, staying comfortable and,
Mm.
and what's easy, but, getting to your dreams and accomplishing all the things that you want isn't always easy. So I think just not taking the easy road, but really being like, okay, this makes me a little uncomfortable, but I'm just going to go for it. The worst that people can say is no, or the worst that could happen is you don't
Right.
accomplish it that day or that minute or that hour. So yeah, that's what's really helped me.
Oh, I love that, and I know they often talk, like, when I read things, it's all about do something each day that scares you, take bold actions, and obviously you did. You reached out to this massive agency and got signed with New York and LA. Like, that's so, so, so powerful, and I can't wait to see where that takes you. And I love that you are so organized. Could you give us an example of a time when you got a rejection, and how you were still able to say and not let those voices of like, oh, you're too old, or see, like, look, you got rejected, therefore all these things are now true all of a sudden. Or maybe you've never had a rejection, I guess. I don't
No,
know.
I for sure have. Rejection's like a hobby for me. So,
Really,
like,
I wouldn't have guessed
yes.
that.
Yes, no, honestly, there's so many auditions you got, and with modeling, like, it kind of ebbs and flows. So, like, I could be booking a million gigs, and then it could be completely quiet for 2 months.
Okay.
So, and you never know if you're gonna ever book something again.
Hmm.
So, I mean, for me, it's just, I mean, like, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I went in for an audition and I got a call back, and it was between me and another girl, and she booked it and I didn't. And I was actually really upset because, when it gets to just two of you, you're like, okay, oh,
Right.
it's so close. And it was a very nice paycheck. And so I was like, I really, times are harder now with
Right.
COVID and
Right.
all that. And so I was like, okay, I really want this. And I didn't get it. Well, God works in wonderful ways, and they ended up having me on set as a backup because of COVID. And I found out the day before, and I didn't get the full check, but they're like, we'll pay you half of the check. And I was like, oh my goodness, like,
Oh my gosh.
I know. So I was like, okay, well, I didn't end up getting the gig, and I won't be on the, like, it was for a pretty big company. um but hey, like, I still got a good check, and I still, a good thing happened out of it. But I was really bummed at the time. Like, I was so bummed. I was like, oh, I was so close, but God's good, and it ended up working out.
Oh, I'm so
But
glad.
but it doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes it's just like a complete rejection, and you're like, okay, and that's that.
And that's that. But I love that. It's not a forever no. Yeah, obviously they came back, and
Yeah,
that's not the first time I've actually heard people say, like, don't count them out. You never know. But you
exactly.
wouldn't have gotten any answer had you not applied and had you not tried. So
Right.
I love that. I love your perseverance, and I love that you love yourself. And I think that's a huge. I mean, obviously, you are killing it in the modeling industry. You're 33, looking amazing as ever.
Thank you.
How? But obviously, in the modeling industry of all industries, your looks matter. And how do you deal with insecurities, and kind of how does that tie into your confidence and persevering going forward, and just trusting, like, nope, I'm on the right path. I know I was born for this. I'm not going to let those insecurity, if you have any, if not, that's great,
Yeah.
ever get me down, especially in like a modeling industry.
Yeah, it's super hard because I'm always the biggest girl in the room. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I'm modeling, it's very rare that there's a girl that's bigger than me, um, and so that can really get you down. I think at first when I started, it was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Like,
Right.
and they always, and a lot of times on set, people would treat you different. Oh, you're the model. Oh, yes, I am.
Really? Oh
Yeah. So there's
no.
definitely been like, or like, if you tell people, what do you do? Like, I stopped for a while telling people what I did, because I'd be like, oh, I'm a model. And unless I put plus size before it, like, people would be like, oh yeah, okay, I'm sure
Oh.
so there's definitely, I mean, I definitely have insecurities, or there's been times where I was on set, and the camera guy, like, they said, oh, give the camera guy your jacket, and I gave him my jacket, and he put it on, and he started being like to the other camera guys, well, I'm on air and it's live, he's like, oh, this is so big, it's so big, it's even big for me.
Oh my
And he was like a
gosh.
smaller guy, and like, here I am, like, on air, and like, so it's hard not to get down on yourself when you hear that a lot.
Oh
But you know
my
what, like,
gosh.
I'm a healthy person, I work
Right.
out constantly, I eat pretty healthy, I like my sweets, don't get me wrong, but like,
We all do.
but I have cellulite, but I learned to love it.
Mm,
It's like, I earned that. As long as I'm healthy, and which I believe that I am a healthy person, like,
right.
I I I really have learned to love my imperfections,
Mm,
because if I spend so much time worried about every little thing, what kind of life am I living?
right.
So, I'm I'm not perfect in any way, but that's me, and I just had to learn to love that, all of me.
Yeah. Well, and I think you're perfect, by the way. I think you look
Thank
amazing. Look at that photo on the screen. Oh my gosh, you are stunning. And
thank you.
I want to go punch that camera guy um 50 times over and over. I won't, but I'm so sorry that that happened to you. And I guess for the audience, do you mind talking, like, I know I've seen a couple posts on this, but I'd love clarification. You know, is that okay if we just refer to you as a model, or do we have to use the disclaimer, plus size, or is that kind of a thing that's going away more?
Honestly, I would say that people do call us plus size models, but honestly, I take it as a compliment,
Yeah.
because, like, the girls that are represented as plus size model, I think are beautiful. Like, when I
Yeah.
look at, like, my agency on their, like, board or their website, it's like, okay, like, runway plus, like, there's the different lifestyle kinds of models. And when I look at the other plus size girls, I'm like, oh my God, she's stunning. Oh, she's stunning. So like, I'm like, thank you. It
Yeah.
doesn't bother me at all. I know some people are like, no plus, just model.
Yeah.
But to me, I love the company that I'm in. So I'm like, okay, yes.
Oh, great. Awesome. Yes, I've seen that before, where they said, like, well, they're models. You don't have to say plus size model, just in the sense that, like, if you notice somebody of a different race, you don't have to say, oh, I saw this black woman. You're like, you can just say woman. You don't have to, like, put a disclaimer out there that, like,
Right.
she was black. Like, you don't need to say that. So I've definitely got caught myself doing that more, and I'm learning. But I'm glad that you own that title, because you should. There's nothing wrong with it. I love that, and I know you have such a going through all your photos. And for those of you guys who haven't yet, be sure you follow her on Instagram. And I'm actually going to post that link right now. So Jamie, I hope that's okay. I'm directing them to
Yes, of
your
course.
Instagram. She has, and I'm going to just like brag about you one more time, 31,000 followers. You guys, like, this is amazing. And she posts amazing pictures, inspirational quotes in them. So thank you for all the light that you put into the world. I am just so grateful for that. And you are an inspiration, even if you kind of stumbled into modeling. It sounds like they just kept saying, "Hey, go model," which is so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Still, you're doing it. You're 33 years old, beautiful, and killing the game. So you've knocked
Thank
down
you.
so many barriers. And this is, am I correct, right? This is your job, right? Like, this is it. Like, this is what you
Yeah.
do for a living.
Luckily, it's my full-time job. Yeah. I've been really blessed. So I'm so
Oh,
thankful.
that is so cool, and you're doing it. And I know for I'll kind of let you kind of wrap up with any words that you have now. But for all of us, even if you don't want to be a model, this is still an applicable lesson to say, hey, when you're feeling down, remember Jamie. Like, keep her in the back of your mind. She didn't let age or plus or anything like that the world might say no to stop her, and she's a full-time model. That's amazing. And you'll see her billboard around town. So, Jamie, any last words before we kind of wrap up our time together today?
Yeah, just, go for it. I think sometimes we overthink things, and
Mm,
just don't overthink it. If your heart is in it, I say just go for it, and don't be scared, because I think, every no is closer to a yes, no matter what it is. And, follow your heart and your dreams.
mm. Thank you so much, Jamie. I so appreciate you being here, rolling with the tech issue problems. I hope
No
it
worries.
looks like the sound came through great. So I so appreciate you, and we'll for sure be in touch once COVID lifts. I can't wait to grab coffee and see you around in person. But thank you for
Yes.
blessing us with your wisdom. Keep going. We're all going to be rooting for you. You just
Oh,
gained a
thank
couple
you.
more fans tonight. So thanks for putting out light into the world. We so appreciate that.
You too. Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Jamie. Bye.
Bye.
So everyone, I hope you could hear the audio okay. I really do not know what's going on with this tech issue, but thank you, Jamie, for rolling with the punches. The biggest thing for all of us, I mean, maybe you want to be a model, and that's always been a passion of yours. There was someone I just read a magazine article on the other day, and she was 68 and she just started modeling, because you know what? They need models who are 68 years old. So whatever it is for you, and I know a couple of you personally on this call have some big dreams. I do too, right? There are so many barriers in our way that are totally not real, right? There is actually no barrier that's saying you're too old. You just think that you're too old. You can't touch it, right? You could go get a million no's, but you might get that one yes, like Jamie said too. So I know that Jamie's an inspiration to me. I hope she was an inspiration to you. Thank you for rolling with the tech issues. I hope you liked my song. And if you haven't yet, follow me on Spotify. I've got at least 2 coming out by the end of the year. And for those of you who missed it, I sang a song called Big Plans, and it's just, I thought it was great. I'll probably play it on the way out. Um, just to kind of wrap it up one more time. But God does have big plans for all of us, and the passions he put onto your heart are real. And like she said, if you actually want to do something, that didn't just come out of nowhere. That was planted. So try and get out of your own way a little bit sometimes, and be like, okay, this isn't even my seed. This is is God's seed, and I'm just going to water it. And it's amazing how sometimes, like she said, just go for it. Ask, email what He will do. So thank you all so much for being here, rolling with the punches. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next week. Bye, you guys.